call to order the Thursday, August 27th meeting of the Keystone Heights CRA and City Council Budget Workshop order. City Manager Rakowski, would you like to call roll, please?
Mayor Lake.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hart.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilwoman Kelly.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Do you have any public comment cards today?
I have no additional public comments other than what's on the agenda.
Okay. We'll go to item number 2, partner request. Can we bring in JJ Harris for the Clay County EDC, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Harris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Lynn. Thank you.
All right, you are present with the council this afternoon.
Mr. Harris, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor Lake, how are you?
Excellent today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, Mayor, Lynn, all those present online. I'm on my cell phone, so I apologize. I was driving, got caught in traffic, so I can't really, I just pulled over and talking. We want to thank you for your continued partnership in the EDC. Want to talk about some of the progress we've made this year. We did a corporate governance review. We're expanding our board from the 11 members to up to 21. At some point, small increments, we're going to go to 14 members. Hopefully have better representation countywide, and that you might consider a position or appointing someone to our board at some point in the future for better representation on EDC. We've also conducted a county economic incentive policy review. We brought in Crow, international site incentives consulting firm to look at our economic development policy for the county and make recommendations and tweaks to it. And they've also looked at some of the new programs that are out there that our county's not taking advantage of, and we're hoping to get that passed through the county commissioners at some point in the future. Why is that important on our economic development stretch? Because of Keystone Heights. It's such a special area with that airport and that acreage down there, and the momentum behind MHD Rockland. We need to make sure that now that we've got a site, and as we're pushing incentives or infrastructure out there, that our incentives help sell the property and development. So we have submitted a grant, and as you know, and signed off on, for $13.5 million for the Keystone Heights Water and Sewer Infrastructure Extension. We're still awaiting word from PEO. That was submitted in January, and Department of Economic Opportunity is basically under the governor's budget. And once they feel a little more comfortable, hopefully they'll let us know one way or another. We also work with CCUA, Clay County Utility Authority, and they put $4 million in their budget as part of a grant match to help secure that money. So that being said, we still continue to work hard for Keystone Heights. What we plan on going on forward for 2021, which our budget year starts 1 October, like yours, is website development, a site readiness program, which is very important. We want to take a building plan and make it virtual for at least 5 different types of buildings that we can put on any site. Maybe it's a hangar, maybe it's a 40,000 square foot warehouse, maybe it's a 100,000 square foot warehouse. Have that pre-permitted through the county and ready to go, so that if somebody comes and looks at the airport property or adjacent properties, that speeds up the process for them. Because we know we have a lack of capacity in buildings in the area, and it's very important that we maximize the time and speed for development coming in. So that's why I'll go back to our ask. So last year we were at $1,500. This year we're asking for $5,000 and a 5-year commitment. Why is that important? Because that goes along with our 5-year strategic planning process. You may not be able to go out 5 years, but if we can plan on a multi-year that helps us in a longer development process. We're upping our marketing also at the same time this coming year, and that's an expensive prospect also. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions. And again, I thank you for your continued partnership and whatever level of support you feel comfortable.
Thank you, JJ. Are there any questions from council for Mr. Harris? Mr. Hart?
JJ, Steve Hart here. First of all, good to talk to you. We have your letter of August 24, 2020, and I'd just like to have that formally read in the record. Secondly, I had a question. In your next to last paragraph, you said you're laying the foundation to develop an additional access road. By laying the foundation, does that mean that you're talking to DOT?
Well, actually, and this is a long shot, but we're trying to work with Camp Blanding, an already existing parcel or road that they have at the southern end. If we can get them to trade access or accessibility on that existing road, maybe it's in the form of we trade some land or access to land at the airport, or maybe say a fighter wing that they need for access from that road, saves us the cost of building it. But maybe there's some infrastructure improvement that might say it needs a double fence or a gated entrance or limited access. We're trying to lay that foundation now to open that up, because roads are expensive, as you know, and building a new one is very expensive.
Well, to me, that's kind of exciting, because if you have access off of 21 and you're doing some economic development back in there, that would seem like a great match.
Exactly. So that's why when you look at it from a map, and that's why you have to look at economic development, is how do you get access to an interstate or First Coast Expressway when you're in a smaller county? Well, the closer we can get that to 21 up to Middleburg for traffic, warehousing, other, maybe MHD Rockland's working at Cecil Field, maybe they, running parts back and forth. If we can make it easy for them to do business, give them accessibility, makes us a lot more attractive as a community.
You're cutting off.
And of course, with all the infrastructure.
I'm sorry, you're cutting off like 5, 6, 7 miles as far as the distance it would take to go to the addition to the current access versus this new one that comes to pass.
Exactly.
You're that much closer to the expressway. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Harris? I don't. Mr. Brown?
We are looking in the Keystone area as a small business owner that is in dire need of a lot of what Gainesville has. Orange Park has them. Other bigger locations is a garage, office, warehouse kind of thing. Are y'all looking at anything like that down in Keystone that could possibly help? We have a lot of small business guys that work out of their trucks and their houses and stuff like that they could use something for an office and a warehouse. And I'm not talking a big warehouse. I'm talking something like they have up on Blanding Boulevard for small businesses.
Sure. So now there's opportunities for a multi-complex like you're talking about. We just have to have the site ready and get access to it. Now, what we do is we promote. So we're not actually the developer, but do we have partners that do that kind of thing? Yes. If we can line up 3 or 4 that need something like that, we'll be happy to work with the developers, help site a property, and then it's no different than renting an apartment or having an apartment complex built.
Right.
If you bring 4 or 5 tenants in and a build-to-suit project, then the developer can afford to do that. So we'll be happy to help market that. And that's a great thing about our partnerships with CCDA. They have some money to develop some things like that. And then working with SBDC, which you'll hear a little bit from Chris later on, we're a big advocate and supporter of Small Business Development Center, because what's important is how do you grow business and grow economic activity? It's homegrown.
Right.
Everybody that started a business had to start out in a garage, a small office, or in their home, and then they've grown from there. Some of the biggest companies in the world were started in basements and garages. Right. Apple, Dale, you can think of all of them. So that's a great opportunity. We'll be happy to explore that.
Like an incubator, process.
I might call you back.
JJ, are we talking like an incubator thing for new startups where they could get in with a minimum downstroke?
The
The
details on something like that will have to be worked out, but that could be a possibility in a partnership like that. You've got to work out, find the people and then discuss what their needs are and then do some site. But I think there's enough interest that, we could definitely work on that.
Okay.
Be happy to come down, do a workshop and talk to a few people, set up multiple meetings, whatever we need to do. We'll help promote that.
Okay.
That adds to the tax base.
Mayor, the other thing I have is us in our budget and finance committee meetings and stuff, we're having to tighten the belt a lot. I'm kind of iffy on the $5,000 for a 5-year commitment. I don't know how the rest feel about that. I mean, I think $1,500 for a 5-year commitment, I would be all right with that, but I'm kind of leery about $5,000.
And we may be able to meet someplace in the middle. I mean, there are amounts in the middle that our budget may be able to afford. JJ, for our benefit, can you share specifically what the money would be used for? Would it be straight?
Actually, Madam Mayor, if I may, just one moment. If we can recess the meeting for about 3 minutes, I have Councilman Peoples is trying to get in, and we're experiencing a little bit of a screen glitch. So if I can get that back under control, and then if we can come back, if that's possible.
Sure. Does
Okay.
anybody have an objection to recessing the meeting for 3 minutes? Okay.
All right.
So
Thank
we'll
you so
hang
much.
out here.
Thank you. project budget and then shows commitment by all involved.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question for you. And I don't know if Mr. Peoples-Does, I'll go back to him in just a minute. In your estimation, how close are we really to just letting the airport, skyrocket? When do you see we hit go?
In reality, I mean, there's multi-millions of dollars of infrastructure that needs to go there so that we can actually recruit. We'll see a few projects go out there to support MHD Rockland right now, but in long term, we have to have water, we have to have sewer, and we've made great strides. The community's made great strides with getting the fiber out there and access off of 100, but we need that alternate route also. So you're going to see a couple project wins, a couple buildings go out at the airport on one side of the county line or the other, but then that momentum we need to capitalize on. We need to continue to market that site, market the area, and then help springboard, because the more activity we get out there, the more leverage we'll have, because that's how we'll go after the state funds and federal funds to help support that.
Okay, that's fair. Was there any other questions from council? Commissioner Hart.
I have a question and a comment. Is what you're looking for at this point, JJ, just some predictability so that you know what you're dealing with as far as cash?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a great way to put it.
And the problem that, of course, that we have is because of COVID, our budget is really strained. But would you be comfortable if we sort of eased into it? For example, first year 2,000, second year 3,000, all the way up to 5,000 for the last 2 years. Would you be comfortable?
Sure. Yeah, that helps us plan, and then everybody, if you can forecast out like that, then you can say, okay, here's what we're building on. This is what we're capitalizing on. And then we can do updates and modifications, marketing plans as we need and go along. It helps us in the longer term planning process, because economic development is a long-term development process, as you know, because some of these road projects take several years to get a grant in and money's back, and then you got to do all the bid development and, on from there. So the commitment for 5 years is phased in is a wonderful approach.
Madam Mayor, are you looking for a motion?
Let me ask Ms. Krakowski, do we need a motion here, or do you want Budget and Finance to consider all of these and bring it back to council?
So we are not looking for a motion at the workshop. It's just to discuss the possible projects. Budget and Finance will make a recommendation once we see all the numbers and what council wishes to include into each budget.
Just to be clear, my suggestion is year 1, 2,000, year 2, 3,000, year 3, 4,000, and then the next 2 years, 5,000.
And I like that plan. I think it's a good plan, Mr. Hart. I think that's it helps Mr. Harris predict his budget and plan the work, quite frankly. And Mr. Harris, just one last comment from me. As soon as our FDOT project is done through downtown Keystone, I certainly hope you would come back and talk to us about doing some marketing for our downtown businesses.
Sure. And there's Main Street programs and things like that we can get you involved in. I send some links every now and then, but that might be something that could be very beneficial for all the small businesses and retailers down there.
You're talking about the Main Street program where you have a coordinator?
You don't necessarily have to have a coordinator.
That's where the expense comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Heritage Commission looked at that a few years ago.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile program to be aware of, and maybe somebody from city staff participates in. But long term, if we could get a couple of the cities to go in together, or maybe a county Main Street program coordinator, use some other grant funds out there to get something started, that might be more beneficial. That a couple days a week we have something in there. But there's definitely some marketing programs to help the Main Street program that you don't have to have a program coordinator for, that your small businesses can participate in.
Okay, that sounds great. And on the other side of construction, I'd love to have more conversation about that. Anything else from council for Mr. Harris? Mr. Peoples, do you have anything?
Mr. Peoples, you are on mute.
Forgive me for my tardiness. I had some internet issues, and Lynn was finally able to get me on with another link. So thank you. I've been listening on my phone on YouTube, and I've heard everything JJ said pretty much. So I think the tiered thing that Mr. Hart was talking about is a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anyone? Mr. Brown? Ms. Kelly? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris, for showing up virtually with us. I appreciate your time. And
Thank you all.
And we'll look at that under budget and finance.
Okay, thank you again. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
Ms. Rakowski, are you ready to bring in Mr. Abetz?
Yes. He should be joining us in just a moment.
Okay. Mr. Abetz, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
We're here at your pleasure, and so we'll turn the floor over to you. You're recognized.
Okay, sure. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Chris Abetz, and I'm with SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center. And I don't know if everybody here knows about us, but we're a national organization, and we've been around for about 42 years, and we're nonprofit, and we're funded primarily by the Small Business Administration. So my role is to be the business consultant for Clay County. So there's 15 consultants in North Florida, in the North Florida Director's Office, and we're assigned to different counties depending on need and funding in those areas. So what I do is I visited, over the past 3 years, we visited about 26 Keystone businesses. And I looked at some of the statistics, and we've had about 130 sessions, one-on-one sessions with business owners in Keystone. We've spent about 300 hours face-to-face and in the back office, doing research or doing planning to take to that small business to help them. So the things I've worked on in particular with Keystone businesses, I was thinking about it, I probably have about 13 businesses right now that are active with me. Right now, of course, we're face-to-face, but typically I would try and see them in Keystone, most of the time at their businesses. But sometimes I use the office that Lynn has provided, and I see Keystone businesses there. Sometimes they like to come away from the business and be separate. And I really like to be at the business because I can see what's going on and they can show me things, and we can go that route. But I've worked on human resource issues. In our main office, we have the ability to do personality profiling and other things around HR. And we have an HR specialist as well. I've worked on customer acquisition. So what is an ideal customer profile for that business? And we work on that together. And then how do you find those customers and how do you attract them? And SBDC has research tools. We have a whole network. We're nationwide, so we have a nationwide network of research and research tools, high-end tools that'll compare companies. They'll look at demographics. They'll look at several different types of supportive things for businesses. Financing, I've helped a couple with financing needs along the way. Digital media and social media, I've got a certain level of that myself, but we have a digital media expert, a younger fellow that's in Jacksonville, and he'll pick up, where I need him to with the client and help them with their Facebook or their Instagram or their website, all those things. So all this is no cost to the Keystone businesses. So strategic planning, I've got a couple strategic plans in place with small businesses in Keystone. New business planning, folks that are just in the visioning stage and they want to know what it takes to get into business. They have a concept. They may be at various stages. So we offer that kind of support as well. And then government contracting. We've got Keystone folks that are into government contracting, and we have a government contracting officer in the Jacksonville office. So that person does nothing but get folks ready, get them connected to government type opportunities. So today, for instance, I was working with a Keystone business by phone, and we have extra resources right now from the CARES Act. So our North Florida division got extra money from the government so that we can hire 15 extra consultants just for a year's time. They're going to be temporary. They are temporary, and they're in different specialty areas. But with that came some things to do, like special marketing plans. So I'm working starting today with a Keystone business to do a mini marketing plan. And this is where a real PR firm, a fairly heavy duty firm, comes in and works with the client. I'll be there with them, and we're going to develop a specific plan on how to get them to the next level in their marketing and customer acquisition. So those are the types of things we do. I've been at this about 3 years for SBDC, about 1.5 years in the Keystone, serving Keystone and Clay County. And it's been a great opportunity and experience for me. Your contribution has been in the past $1,000, so that's on the table again. I think you see the value, so I don't know that I need to talk too much about that part, but I will answer any questions for you. So I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Council, are there any questions from council? Mr. Hart?
Just an observation that small business is the backbone of our economy, and I'm looking for a benefit that would benefit all the people in the city, and I think that this would, because it would enhance the overall economy, which would have a multiplier effect. So I would be in favor of the $1,000 ask.
Anybody else? Mr. Brown?
I totally agree. I've talked to Chris once or twice myself.
That's awesome. Using your resources there, Mr. Brown. Mr. Peoples, anything?
No, ma'am. Chris, are you based out of UNF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually a UNF employee. I work for SBDC, but I'm also a UNF employee. So we have, just to fill that out a little bit, we have access to their staff and their research as well. So, I mean, we can go deep there too.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kelly, anything? Okay. All right, well, I really appreciate you joining us today. We're going to take your request back to Budget and Finance, and we'll make a recommendation to council for our budget year this year. Thank you.
Okay, great. Look forward to seeing you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Kowski, I believe we have Ms. Franklin up next.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Barbara,
Yep.
are you on?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, fantastic.
Ms. Franklin, it's Mayor Lake. You're recognized to make your request.
And so, Miss Franklin, we have you first as representing the Lions Club.
Oh, okay. If it's possible, I'd like to represent at the same time, and in just a few moments, you'll understand why. Can you all hear me just fine?
Yes.
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 All right, so I'd like to say that I understand the city's revenue is down this year due to COVID, so I'd like to propose a way to save just a little bit of money if I can. I've met with several people that helped me with the event for Blue on the Boulevard, and we think it's a good idea to not have the event this year. So we'll not be asking for the $1,500. This should help keep the spread of the virus down, since we usually have around 6,000 kids. But I'm sure they'll still have places to trick or treat, golf course, that kind of thing. With that said, there's so many people in the community, the members of the community that have been affected by the virus. I was wondering if you would consider awarding Embrace Community $2,000 to $2,500 this year, since we're not asking for the $1,500 for Boo, so we can help more families this year. For those of you that are not aware of last year's event, we were able to buy approximately Christmas gifts for over 200 children. The extra money would go a lot further. Last year, some of the money went to decorating. We've had a discussion. We decided to, whatever we raise and possibly get from you, all of it would go to Christmas gifts. Also, it's been hard to fundraise this year, as you know, because of COVID and the impact it's had on others. We still plan on raising money, but it would help if you could give us a little extra this year.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have questions for Ms. Franklin? Mr. Brown?
I don't have a question. I do have a statement. Since I participated last year in the little red suit thing, and there was a lot of people there, and with everything that's been going on, and Mary, you know how many people are coming up to get food and stuff like that. When y'all do that at the schools, and Christmas is supposed to be a happy time, and some of these kids, their parents are out of work and might not be able to have anything. So if I'm in favor of giving a little extra for Embrace, since we're not going to do on the boulevard, to help out a little bit more for presents and whatever they need.
Okay, I do want to just remind folks, the council made a decision a couple of months ago to shut down events until the 1st of January. So what we're proposing is the best situation, right? That COVID goes away and we can gather in large groups.
And Madam Mayor, if I may add on to that comment, there's just a reminder, one, we're under construction. Our city is going to be under construction via our 3 parks that surround City Hall and the downtown road through the end of this year. We've got, with the CARES funding and then with our parks renovation, we've got wireless going in, we've got electricity going on underground, plus the construction of the FDOT project that's going on. So those are some things that that council is going to need to consider going on over the next couple of months, that we are under construction.
And I don't know that Ms. Franklin has identified, what location are you proposing for the Embrace event?
Well, last year we did it right across the street from you guys, the Heritage Park, but we could move it wherever it needed to move once we got closer and knew what was going on, like for instance behind City Hall, at the beach, wherever it was safe, during construction. And we have thought about, safety. So it wouldn't be one of those events like it was last year that we offered, singing and snow and all that stuff. It would just be basically, coming in. If you have to have a mask on, you have to have a mask on, and passing out toys, and that's it, doing nothing else.
Okay, so it is a streamlined event. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from council? Vice Mayor Hart.
Just a clarification, Madam Mayor, you mentioned the restriction on group gatherings has been extended to January 1st. I don't recall making that decision. I think we kind of left it up in the air. And if I recall, Mr. People were looking at a review in October or November. So I just wanted a clarification on that. Secondly, here again, looking for some benefit to the entire community. The future of the community is the kids, and I think it's important for morale, especially given the stresses this year, that we give this some consideration.
Certainly. Mr. Brown, you had another comment?
I just have a question to the manager. If by chance this event couldn't happen on city property, and they had to move it somewhere else in the city, we can still provide those funds for that.
So typically these events are paid for out of our CRA, which is our business district, and the purpose of our CRA is to promote local businesses. These events being held downtown within our area, we can fund it through that specific budget because it is promoting our businesses. It's bringing traffic down to our businesses. When you move this event out of the agency's area, then we're looking at having to take this money out of our actual general fund, our operating funds, as opposed to our agency's funds.
The pavilion is in the proper district, though, correct?
I'm sorry?
The pavilion is in the CRA district.
Yes, these 3 parks are within the district. However, these 3 parks will also be still undergoing. We anticipate with our contractors under construction during this time.
I thought the pavilion had to be done by November 30. Is that?
The pavilion has to be done by November 30th. That's correct, but there's going to be additional resources that the city's going to have to bring to it that's not going to be covered under CARES Act, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Question. We don't use this park very often, but in case we would have to because of the construction, could this event be moved over to the Azalea Park on Magnolia? I know there's no power there.
There's no power, and it's not within the area. It's not within within the agency's district.
Okay, we'll find something.
So we couldn't use Sunrise Park?
No, that's outside of the district as well.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just understand that those funds can no longer come out of our CRA, that it has to come out of our general operating expenses.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, Ms. Franklin, thank you for attending. We'll take this back to Budget and Finance and discuss it some more.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
So we have Ms. Collins next up, Ms. Rakowski?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Ms. Collins, can you hear me?
I can. I have the YouTube up and I'm going to see if I can close that down. Whoops. Okay, there you are. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Collins, you're recognized to communicate your need.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you all for including me in this workshop. And on behalf of the nonprofit organization that I'm the executive director for, the Jordan Cooper Memorial Scholarship Fund, we'd like to again request up to $1,500 for traffic and security to pay for Clay County Sheriff's officers for the 2021 4th of July 5K.
Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Collins? Any comments for Ms. Collins from council? Mr. Brown?
I'd just like to say, for the first year, I mean, even though we've had a 5K for many years, but for a different, for putting something together that fast, it was very well done. And there was, to me, I think there was a lot of people there. I got encouraged to start thinking about doing it myself next year, because I had some friends that I saw that I thought I'd never see running. So they inspire me. So I hope all of us can do something next year.
Thanks for saying that. You know, it was a great event, and I'm so happy that even with the challenging circumstances that we moved forward with it. So many people were so appreciative that it was, they had the opportunity to come out, and there was a little follow-up note in the monitor. I don't know if any of you saw it, but it said, "Thank you for the 4th." And it was from an older couple who, there were a couple people in the race that, you know, carried the flag, which I thought was wonderful. I really wanted someone to do that, but just hadn't, you know, been able to verbalize it, and someone showed up and did it. And anyway, in the monitor, I think it was Mrs. Motter, but she, you know, she just said, "Thank you so much." And, you know, it just brought tears to my eyes, and to see the flag represented. And I, you know, I mean, it's a tradition that we've had in this city for so long. And, you know, small towns, that's what makes them special. It's the traditions.
Absolutely.
And people, they want to, you know, they want to come out and you know, they want to participate. And so it was great. So thank y'all for doing that short notice. I know it was kind of crazy, but I learned a lot, and the sheriff's office was so helpful, and they're ready to come back. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on with us, Ms. Collins. We'll take your request back to Budget and Finance and make a recommendation to council. Oh, Ms. Rakowski wants to.
Madam Mayor, oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor Hart, I apologize.
One clarification, the $1,500 would be used for security, so there is a public purpose involved here.
yes, it's specifically for traffic and security, and we didn't use the whole 1,500. We only used, I think, around 1,200, and so we didn't even utilize the whole amount.
I just wanted that on the record. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Rakowski?
Ms. Collins, are you planning on utilizing the same route that you did this past year?
Yes, I would like to, assuming the construction's finished, you know,
Sure.
and it's all good to go right there. I'm gonna flip one little part, but it's the same route. I'm just gonna flip it so there's not a crossover on the streets. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Mayor, the reason why I asked is because that's centrally located downtown, and so it's a matter of which budget we're utilizing those funds from.
Okay, no worries. I'm sure you'll remind us that next week.
So,
right?
yes.
Okay. And then last but not least, of our service clubs and nonprofits, we're going to hear from Patricia Hatch of Kiwanis.
Miss Patricia, are you with us? Miss Patricia? Miss Patricia, can you hear me?
I'm here.
Miss Patricia?
I think I know what her ask might be. I could perhaps present it on behalf of the Kiwanis Club.
Madam Mayor, I'm not entirely sure if you would like to continue on, or we can do a telephone call real quick to see if we can't get her back on, or move forward with Vice Mayor Hart presenting the ask.
I'm okay with Vice Mayor Hart presenting the ask. He's on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, this is something we discussed this morning. There was a question as to whether or not we would be having the Christmas parade this year. Given the current COVID situation, and if we were going to hold it tomorrow, of course, the answer would be no. But the situation may be different in early December. And I think her ask would have been twofold. Number one, to conditionally approve a parade route, which is similar to one that has already been presented, but there'd be a small change to it. And secondly, for funds for the sheriff for the public purpose of protection.
And what is the number, Vice Mayor Hart?
$1,500. I think that's what we did last year.
Okay. Any questions of Vice Mayor Hart of the Kiwanis ask? No? Okay. Well, then,
So discussion as an alternative to the parade, to having a Christmas lights celebration, we might consider doing that in conjunction with the parade if we can make it happen. But the request is $1,500 for security for the Christmas parade.
okay. And we'll take that back to Budget and Finance and come back with a recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping in. Okay, so we go to CRA Council Project Discussion. This part of the agenda is for council members, suggestions for our projects next year. Mr. Peoples, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to reiterate about the band shell, roof over the band shell. At least get it into the planning stage and possibly the funding stage, get it planned, and I think it'd be a boon for the city. And I think it'd be a good thing to do for the musicians and for the city itself.
Okay. Any other questions of Council Member Peoples? The band club?
Do we have a price on that, or a ballpark of how much that was going to cost? I don't remember.
I don't think so. No, we haven't gotten to that point yet. No.
Okay.
But I'd like to go ahead and step forward with that and see what we can do with that. So we have a ballpark figure.
Is that something that our engineers would do, or would we have to find somebody else to price that out?
We can have our engineers look at that if that's the direction that we want to go. There's several different ways that we can finagle that project if it's a project that we want to consider for next year. Absolutely.
Would that be part of the pavilion upgrade? Because that could be part of the distribution of goods and food and so on.
No, so the pavilion itself is going to be upgraded as a storage facility for that distribution center. We have, and I say we, Mayor Lake can speak better to this, but the parking lot is utilized as the public distribution. The pavilion is used for the staging of those goods.
Okay. All right, we'll certainly consider that in our planning for next year. Anyone else on council have?
Madam Mayor, I have Miss Patricia who has re-entered the waiting room. Would you like to bring her back in, and we'll just reiterate the ask that Vice Mayor Hart did on behalf of Kiwanis? That way she's not just waiting.
Yeah. Let her have some virtual fun with us.
I say that. Let me see if she's coming in. She'll pop up momentarily.
Marion, you're on mute if you're trying to say something. You got to unmute yourself. Top corner, top right corner.
Miss Mary, can you please go help Miss Marion?
Careful what you wish for, Tom.
I know. She looks like she's fussing about something.
All right, so I think that Miss Patricia might be having some internet issues, and it's slowly letting her come in. So she might just pop up in just a couple of moments.
Can you hear me now?
Well, we can hear you.
Well, hello, ma'am.
Now you're out.
Now you're out again.
You're back on mute.
Turn it off.
Marion was sending help. Hang on.
We had a plan.
We can hear you now.
We had a power outage in Keystone, so that's probably why Patricia can't call.
Oh,
That's why I had phone call.
She could amend the Kiwanis ask in writing with a letter or something following this meeting, could she not, if I didn't state it correctly?
Absolutely.
All right.
okay. Any other project asks from council?
I have one, it sort of bugged me for a number of years. The street signs and some of the street signs in the city look like we're in Beirut or somewhere. And I'd like to at least have a plan set up to do a 3 or 4 year project to replace the signs with something a little more attractive. I think in particular the one on Garden Street in 21, that's horrible.
Yes.
And there would be some security issues and health issues if our signage isn't up to par. So I would ask that be budgeted.
And just for council's visibility and understanding, we are in the process right now of pricing out brand new stop signs to eliminate some of these poles. So we'll have stop signs and street signs on one pole. They'll look a little bit better than what they do now with the black outlines, as you can see in some other communities. And so we'll be putting a plan in place that X amount will be replaced every year. And we, throughout the next couple of years, have brand new stop signs and street signs throughout the city. It's amazing how expensive that gets when you start adding up.
Thank you.
Yes, I know that the city manager gets attractive pictures from you about those signs. So she's had that on her agenda, on her radar for quite some time.
So.
And some of the streets are designated as avenues when they're streets, and some of the streets are designated as drives. Citrus had street, drive, and avenue on it at one time. So
yeah, yeah. And I even believe Orange Street is an avenue on the street on one end and the other. Isn't that true?
Yeah, the Garden Street sign, you have to be a midget to be able to read it.
And so we'll be purchasing those in bulk with the renovations of 21 and 100 because State Road 21 South Lawrence Boulevard, and so we'll be purchasing our signs in conjunction with the purchase of those.
And a question, Mr. Hart, through the Heritage Commission, can we purchase maybe some brown historical signs with the names of the streets, like Lawrence Boulevard there in Jasmine, where the Lawrence House is?
I think, well, we don't have historic districts. Our ordinance provides that we can create them. Right now, we don't have historic districts as such. However, the Tourist Development Council, one of the suggestions they were working on is having distinctive signage for older areas, heritage areas, to make it easier for tourists to find it. So I would like to have the Heritage Commission at least have some input in that if you're going to start doing it on a citywide basis.
Okay. Mr. Costa, you'll make a note of that too? Okay, and so I know that the only ask I have is to complete the downtown Wi-Fi. We talked about it. Ms. Lynn can speak to it and on her items, project items, because she has a quote. Ms. Bukowski, do you want to take the floor and talk about the items that we're moving forward?
Yes, so through the CARES Act, we're adding Wi-Fi to our parks surrounding City Hall, and then also to the Sunrise Park. Renovating with charging picnic tables, and we'll be able to control that here from City Hall when you will be able to utilize the power at these tables, when you'll be able to utilize the internet. With that being said, and then the pavilion renovation, of course, is coming out of the CARES Act for a secondary food distribution, as well as our touchless restrooms and some other improvements outside, hand sanitizing stations, water bottle stations, and things of that nature. There's going to be some unexpected expenses that's going to come with these projects that's not going to be covered under the CARES Act, as well as some renovations that as we move forward through these projects that we're going to want to accomplish. And rather than sitting back and going, we wish we could have, I would ask the council to consider doing maybe a $10,000 budget item to be designated towards parks improvements, so that we can put in as a city some improvements that might not be covered under the CARES Act, or as after we see these projects being finished.
Would this also include any projects that might come up that aren't covered by the FDOT's road improvement?
Well, that would be something different in itself. So within the area, we do have budgeted our streetscape, and I would recommend to the agency that we keep that budget line item and roll that over into next fiscal year as we see FDOT complete the project downtown for the improvements that we're going to have on South Lawrence Boulevard, and then we as the city can come in and go ahead. Well, hello, Miss Patricia. Well, hello, Miss Patricia. How are you? You are muted. As she unmutes herself, then I'll just continue on. As we have about $20,000 within our agency's budget for the streetscape, and I'd like to roll that over into next fiscal year as this project closes out with FDOT. Then we can add in our own improvements to make this project better.
Same dollars, just being rolled over to the next fiscal year.
That's correct.
I'd be in favor of that.
And then you also talked about the cemetery. Did you want to speak to the cemetery?
Yes, and Councilman Brown was a part of the planning of the cemeteries. He was appointed by the council to be the liaison. So I'll let him jump in as well. But we have been working closely with the engineer, and I am very, very excited to announce that on September 10th that we'll be able to present a final visioning of the cemetery. That will include the gardens, and will include a mapping system that you can easily locate your loved ones. So if you're looking at a price tag, we're looking to make those improvements in the next fiscal year, as well as installing our first ossuarium. We're looking at about $75,000 ask to come out of the budget, the cemetery budget for next fiscal year. That'll include about $50,000 going towards our first ossuarium, which can hold up to, I believe it's almost 300 individual urns,
ashes.
Yes, ashes, and then all of the wayfinding system and roadway improvements, garden improvements to our cemetery.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Rakowski and Mr. Brown regarding the cemetery ask?
I would just like to add that when we took over this cemetery a number of years ago, of course it was in the 90s, but it was a headache at first. And it's a dream of people that we had a committee of people that wanted to do a mausoleum and niches and everything. And and it's been a long time coming, and I'm just happy to see that we as a council and our staff, our engineering firm, have worked together. And when they showed me this yesterday, it was exciting. I don't know how you get excited about a cemetery, but to see, I've visited many cemeteries in the past several years, and when you go to like where some family members are in Orlando, it's all designated. You know where you're going if you know the garden and stuff. And this is one of the major problems we've had in the past. People just they move away, they come back after a few years, and they can't remember where their loved one is. This way, this is going to make it a lot simpler, and it's definitely going to look good. I mean, the way they are getting this designed with the signs and everything, and fixing up the roads, it's really going to look good. And I'm very impressed with it. And I think whatever we can do in that budget, because we really, as far as I can remember, we've really not spent a lot of money out there other than the irrigation system to make the grass grow, when it's dry or something. But I think we could definitely, it's going to look good. That's all that's all I can say. It's really going to look good.
Well,
I'm very impressed.
I'm so excited to see the plans in. If it makes you this giddy happy, it's got to be pretty doggone pretty.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, we're talking about actually doing the work and getting it done in 2021, 22 fiscal year. Is that right?
So the project, the 75,000 will be for the 20 and 21 fiscal year, this upcoming fiscal year. Now that will get us our first ossuarium. Now, if you remember correctly, the original plan called for 4. However, I believe that this will probably take us for the next 3 to 5 years before we have to build another one.
Okay. And one more question to back up on the streetscape. I've had a couple of people ask me, when is the downtown going to be put back together again?
The project is scheduled to go through spring of 2021. So we're looking probably May or June before we're out of construction.
And my usual answer is we're sort of at the mercy of DOT on that one.
Right.
It's true. Ms. Hatch, would you like to join us? And Mr. Hart gave us what he thinks is your ask, but we're going to let you in to confirm that you're asked.
Couple of asks. Number one, a contingent parade route approval contingent on the COVID being at bay by the time of the Christmas second week in December. And secondly, some money for security from the sheriff's office in the event we have a parade. Those are the two asks that I thought you were going to be coming up with.
Ms. Hatch? I'm not sure she hears us, Ms. McCoskey. I guess we could text her, right?
Yes. Actually, Miss Mary, if you would give Miss Patricia a call real quick. And then just let her know to chime in whenever she can hear us or when she can speak.
And in the meantime, do you want to continue with your projects, Ms. Wachowski? So
we discussed the parks and looking at the possibility of putting $10,000 into our parks for additional improvements as we see moving forward after our renovations from the CARES Act. We talked about the downtown streetscape, rolling over those funds that we have allocated already. And talked about the cemetery. And so with that being said, there's a couple of things that I just wanted to talk to the council about as we move forward through this budget cycle, is that a lot of our nonprofits, our asks come out of the agency's budget, like I had stated earlier. If those events are not going to be held within our downtown area, within the agency's area, then that's going to be taken, those funds.
Ms. Lynn?
Yes.
I have Miss Patricia on conference call.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Miss Mary.
I can see you guys. I just can't. I don't know. It's weird.
Go ahead. We were asking for you to confirm. Mr. Hart did share some of the projects you're asking for, and he said that you're asking for a variation of a parade route, as well as some funding for security and traffic. Would you like to explain that for us?
Yes, as always, we still plan to put in an application to do the Christmas parade this year, knowing we can't do it along Lawrence Boulevard because of the construction. We're going to be turning in an application early next week to propose to go through the city. The club met today, and we had some modifications to that route, taking it along Grove. And then we'll be, like I said, we'll be submitting that on Monday. And along with that, we are going to probably assist in the, hopefully, Debbie had come to the meeting about the neighborhoods doing the decorations as well. But we're going to need security for whatever type of event that we participate in. So we're just asking that the city put that on the, or consider putting that in the budget for this coming year, as we have done in the past.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Patricia?
The approval, if any, from the council regarding the parade route would have to be conditional on what the COVID situation is at the time. Is that correct, Patricia?
Yes, understood. Just hoping, that we'll get to that point. If not, well, we'll just come up with a plan B and see where things go.
Okay. We'll certainly take it back to Budget and Finance and look at all of the requests and hopefully come up with a plan that suits as many people as we can. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Technology can be challenging, but it's wonderful when it works, right?
Yes, it is. That's okay. We're all in it together.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Rakowski, did you have any other discussion that you needed to have with us in terms of projects?
Just a reminder of how those the budget dollars will be spent if these events do leave our community redevelopment area, and then also for staffing, we are looking at probably it's not going to be until at least January 1 that we get our inmates back. So right now we've got 3 people doing the work of 13, and so we are I'm working with our public works staff right now to reallocate and redirect a little bit of how we employ individuals working on the outside. We're looking at upping that staff so that we can make sure that we have people on mowers and that they can, one, and very importantly, keep up with the FDOT right away as we get a chunk of money to maintain their right of way, not just within our city limits, but to the county lines, and then also keep our neighborhoods looking good, as well as the cemeteries and our parks. So those are going to be some adjustments this year that you're going to see in the budget, because we do not have the free labor of the inmates right now, and we won't probably for at least until through the first quarter.
Okay.
Not to mention a loss of revenue in our tax dollars. We're starting to see that come in. So those are just some things to keep in mind as we move forward through this budget process, and then we'll talk more in depth next week at the Budget and Finance of really what that looks like and how those affects our budget.
Okay. Okay, where are we at now? Anybody have anything else?
Just a housekeeping question. I got a call today from Debbie to turn in the tablet tomorrow by noon.
Yes.
When will we be getting our new ones?
You'll so all of our tablets, if you can bring those into me and have them in by noon tomorrow, we're going to start the conversions with our laptops, and you'll be receiving your laptops on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll be out about 3 days.
Do we need to bring the cords also?
Yes, please. So your tablet, you will not be receiving your Surface back. You'll be receiving a Dell laptop.
Okay. Are you going to be declaring these surplus at some point? Is that going to be a suggestion you're going to have?
Eventually, we're going to have to go through and make sure that all of them are usable. Some of them are going to be repurposed within the city through staff. We can absolutely use some of these out in the cemetery and through our public works for working. That it is older technology, and we're finding that, unfortunately, we're 5 years into it, and now that's considered older technology. So we're going to look at repurposing those within staff.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? No, seeing none. Ms. Rakowski, are you good?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, awesome. Then for the good of the order, we will adjourn the meeting at 5:24.